pleasant day to one and all. Let's take this time to deepen our knowledge about language learning and acquisition. Let us talk about the matters which concerns natural approach. I am Mr. Tampipi, together with my fellow discussants, Mr. Cabellion, Miss Kenyo, and Miss Mora. Natural approach is a theory.
The natural approach was developed in 1983 by Stephen Krashen and Tracy Terrell. It is based on the theory that language acquisition is a natural process that occurs when learners are exposed to language in meaningful context. According to this theory, language acquisition is facilitated by comprehensible input, which is language that learners can understand even if they don't know all the words or grammar rules. The natural approach belongs to a tradition of language teaching methods based on observation and interpretation of how learners acquire both first and second language in non-formal settings. Such methods reject the formal grammatical organization of language as a prerequisite to teaching.
Natural approach as a methodology.
The natural approach is considered a system for language learning and acquisition because it emphasizes the importance of meaningful communication over memorization and grammar drills. It focuses on developing learners' communicative competence or the ability to use language for authentic communication rather than just mastering grammatical rules and vocabulary. The natural approach is designed to help learners acquire language in much the same way they acquire their first language. It involves exposing learners to a variety of input that is just above their current level of proficiency, so that they are challenged but not overwhelmed. This input should be authentic, meaningful, and relevant to the learner's interests and needs. Natural approach is a system for language learning and acquisition because it is based on a well-established theory of language acquisition, and it provides a comprehensive framework for teaching and learning that emphasizes authentic communication, meaningful input, and a low-anxiety environment.
The emergence of natural approach.
The natural approach emphasizes the importance of using comprehensible input, which is language that learners can understand even if they don't know all the words or grammatical structures being used. This input should be presented in a context that is relevant and interesting to the learners and should gradually increase in complexity as the learner's proficiency improves. Through this, language is learned in context, through real-life situations and interactions. This can be achieved through activities such as role plays, discussions, and games. Learners are encouraged to use the language in meaningful context rather than simply memorizing vocabulary and grammar rules. In this approach, the teacher acts as a facilitator rather than a lecturer. And the learning process is designed to be student-centered, with learners taking an active role in shaping their own learning experience. Through natural and meaningful communication, learners gradually develop the ability to understand and use the language in a more accurate and fluent manner. In a natural approach language class, the teacher might use a story or a dialogue to introduce new vocabulary and grammar structures. The teacher would use a lot of gestures and nonverbal communication to make the language input more comprehensible. The learners would then practice using the new language in communicative activities such as role plays or games, and the teacher would provide feedback and correction as needed. But the emphasis would be on communication rather than on perfection. The class might also use authentic materials such as news articles or songs to practice language skills in real life context.
Natural approach has several key principles. First, we have this comprehensible input, where learners acquire language when they receive messages that they can understand. Second is natural order, where language acquisition occurs in a predictable sequence, with learners acquiring grammatical structures in a particular order. Third is monitor, means learners have a conscious monitor that they can use to edit their language output, but this monitor is not the source of their language acquisition. Fourth is reduction of anxiety. Language learning can be stressful, so teachers should reduce anxiety by creating a low-stress environment and by acknowledging and accommodating students' individual needs and learning styles. Fifth is meaningful interaction, where learners acquire language when they engage in meaningful interaction with speakers of the target language. Sixth is cooperative learning, where learners acquire language more effectively when they work together in groups. Furthermore, we also have the 7th to 12th key principles. 7th, strategic investment. Learners who are highly motivated and have a positive attitude towards language learning are more likely to be successful. 8th, automaticity. Language acquisition becomes more automatic with practice and repetition. 9th is output, where learners need opportunities to produce language in order to develop their proficiency. 10th is variety. Learners benefit from exposure to a variety of language input, including authentic materials and different types of discourse. 11th is transfer, where learners can use knowledge and skills from their first language to support their acquisition of a second language. 12th, the last but not the least, appropriateness. Learners acquire language that is appropriate to their social and cultural context. Conclusion.
The natural approach emphasizes the importance of creating a low anxiety, comfortable environment for language learners. Teachers are encouraged to use natural communicative language in the classroom and to focus on meaning rather than form. Learners are encouraged to use the language in a way that is meaningful to them and to engage in activities that are relevant to their interests and needs. In terms of practical applications, the natural approach emphasizes the use of authentic materials in real-life situations in the classroom. Teachers are encouraged to use a variety of sources, such as newspapers, magazines, TV shows, and movies, to expose learners to the language and context. Group work and peer work are also encouraged as they provide opportunities for learners to practice the language in a more natural setting. The natural approach has been widely used in language teaching and has been shown to be effective in helping learners acquire language skills. However, it is important to note that the natural approach is not a one-size-fits-all approach and may not be suitable for all learners or all learning contexts. It is also important to note that while the natural approach emphasizes communication over grammar, grammar is still an important component of language learning and should not be completely ignored.